because Ian Wallace is on next in the Big Hour. He's a dreams analyst.
Part of it.
Yes, we're lucky that Ian Wallace is joining us in the Big Hour. We're going to talk about dreams, maybe even nightmares, what they mean, and how he analyses them. The line, because he is there. We've got questions for him. Good afternoon, Ian. Can you hear me?
I can, Alex. How are you?
Good, OK. That's fine. You're live from Scotland. I believe you're at BBC Radio Scotland. Is that correct?
Yes, I've nipped into the studio while the Proclaimers have gone out for lunch. They're doing some sort of promo thing today, so they've very kindly given me their studio for an hour.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice. Well, we're thrilled you're here. You're author of the Top 100 Dreams. How many dreams do we have? Is it just an unknown number, or are there probably only a few hundred that people have?
We all have billions of dreams, Alex.
Billions?
Every time the Earth turns, the 7 billion people on Earth have, on average, 5 dreams a night. So every 24 hours, we create collectively 35 billion dreams. But in those, because we're all human beings and we have similar behaviour patterns, we tend to dream in the same sort of patterns. And I picked the top 100 patterns that I've seen again and again in the 140,000 dreams that I've analysed for my clients.
Do you carry that book with you at all times?
Yes, I do. I've got quite a battered and dog-eared copy with me today.
Good, OK, because I might get you to count down the top 20 dreams towards the end of the programme.
Yes, fabulous.
I think people would like to know. Now, the reason I asked is because if you'd written the top 100 dreams, I guess the top 20 are the ones that people are having again and again and again. And I thought, unlike a conversation or a thought, maybe there are just kind of like railway tracks in our head where you're having the dream that I'm sinking in quicksand, or having the dream about spiders or whatever. Anyway, we've got a whole list of dreams. I'm really looking forward to this, Ian, so let's get going. Here's a question from Anne in Southsea. When I was very young, I dreamed that I sat up in bed, and when I looked around, there was a fish wrapped in newspaper next to me on the side. I've never forgotten this dream, says Anne in Southsea. So the fish wrapped in newspaper, and Anne was in bed.
Yeah, this is a great dream that Anne's having. So anytime we dream about an animal, we're dreaming about our own impulses and instincts. So even though we're human beings and we have all sorts of mannerisms and etiquette, we're still animals underneath. So anytime we dream about an animal, it's about our instincts. Dreaming about a fish is about Anne's instincts, feelings, intuition. So there's something that she wants to do in waking life where she's trying to take the feeling of something and turn it into something more tangible. And being wrapped in a newspaper suggests that she feels she has a limited time to do this, or a limited opportunity. So maybe as a young child it was something to do with her sitting exams, and she felt the information, but she actually had to get that out on paper and make it tangible for the examiners.
Right, OK, now I've got to ask you, Ian, I asked you this last time, but for people who are tuning in for the first time and hearing you're very good at this, but how do we know that you know all this stuff is right? How do I know, and I'm not suggesting you are, but you're not making it all up, and this is another edition of Call My Bluff? Because I could say, fish means travel, fish means you're in the sea, you're swimming, newspaper means that you feel restricted and you can't move your fins. I'm just as convincing as you are.
Well, you would be, Alex, although I'm a qualified psychologist with 30 years' experience of doing this. So apart from those minor details, so here's the thing. So sometimes I sit here in a studio and I think, I could just make all this stuff up. And because I've got a track record and a reputation, people would just believe me. So I don't do that. And the reason that I have an awareness of all these symbols and metaphors is most people treat working with dreams as a scientific, laborious, tortuous, you have to analyse it, look at this. I treat it as a language, something to be interpreted. So one of the revelations I had as a younger psychologist was to hear all these phrases that when people relate their dreams that I hear, just hear them in everyday language. So hear things like, when we're talking about water and fish, people say, I feel it in my water, I'm swimming against the tide, I'm in floods of tears, I'm all at sea. And with that, you just think, well, those are all about feelings and emotions. So anytime someone dreams about water, about fish, it's about their feelings and emotions. So I try and interpret dreams as a language rather than doing some big objective scientific analysis. And then by doing that, you realise that in our culture all around us, we've got all these metaphors and images, whether it's the logos of a big corporation or just some image that we're drawn to, and that has a meaning to us, and the same thing comes out in our dreams.
All right, let me ask you about violent dreams. People who aren't violent people may wake up shocked that they've had such a vivid dream about being around violence or being violent. Should they feel guilty for having those dreams?
Not at all. Usually the people that have really violent dreams are very, very peaceable in waking life, and usually they spend most of the time trying to please other people and avoid conflict and keep things happy. So if you have a violent dream, anytime you have a violent dream, it's about some way you need to assert yourself because you have a need that you actually want other people to realise and assert it. So the violent dream is just you actually looking at ways of focusing your energy to make something happen in waking life rather than continually trying to keep other people happy.
Another one people may feel slightly guilty about is an overtly sexual dream. Someone who isn't actually that sexual in real life, who may not be in a relationship and may not feel frustrated, may be having quite a graphic sexual dream or series of dreams that they feel uncomfortable about.
Yeah, so in my experience, this is the 52nd most common dream, and I term it in psychological terms inappropriate intimacy. And any time we dream about having sexual dreams, however graphic they are or how inappropriate they are, we have to think about what sex from a linguistic point of view represents. And it's always about becoming more intimately aware of your creative potential. So we have this word to procreate, so we've got create in there. We talk about conceiving a plan or conceiving an idea. So any sexual dream is about the dreamer is trying to create something in waking life, and they're becoming more intimately aware of the potential they have to do that. But often they might dream that they're in the stationery cupboard with their boss, having a really passionate, steamy encounter, even though they don't fancy their boss and find them really repulsive. But their boss will have some quality that the dreamer is becoming aware of. It might be able to make decisions or some idea of power, and they're just working out how to create something with that in their waking life.
What about a dream that you don't want to wake up from? You want to get... I remember having a dream myself, personally, where I was friends with John Lennon, and this dream was so detailed. And I thought, it's the interview I always wanted to do, and obviously never got because he was gunned down in 1980. And he was telling me stuff that, to me, was very, very convincing in the dream. I remember waking up and being so cross I'd woken up a little bit early. I wanted to get back to that dream. Can you ever get back to a dream?
Yes, you can, Alex. And the key thing that you have to do when you want to get back into a dream is to lie very, very still. So just don't move at all. Don't wiggle your toes. Don't move your hands. Don't look at the clock. Don't chat to your partner. Don't do anything of that. Just lie very still. And you'll find the dream imagery coming back to you. And then as you do that, if you're tired enough, then you'll just slide back into the dream and carry on where you left off.
Wow, I never knew that. So, tonight, when you go to bed, when we all go to bed, if we really want to dream about, I don't know, having dinner with Elizabeth Taylor or climbing Mount Everest, whatever it is that makes you happy, can we put that thought process into our brain and then will we dream it, or have we got to be really lucky for that to come through as a dream?
No, the thing that we always have to remember, and again, this is where I differ from most people who work with dreams. Most people who work with dreams think that dreams are a phenomenon that happens to us. But I think the opposite. I think we create our dreams. So we actually happen to dreams and we make our dreams happen. So because we're creating our dreams, then we can actually choose the content of the dreams. So the thing that I do with my clients, I say to actually work with your dreams and remember them, all you have to remember are 3 words, and those are will, still, and fill. So the first thing you do when you lay your head on the pillow tonight when you go to sleep, you say, tonight I will remember my dreams. Tonight I will dream that I'm continuing my interview with John Lennon, climbing Mount Everest, having dinner with Liz Taylor, which would be a fantastic dream to have all those 3 things in it. And then, when you wake up in the morning, you lie completely still for a minute. Don't move at all. Let the dream imagery come back to you. And as it comes back, then start to fill in the gaps between it. And by doing that filling in, then you'll start to get a dream story emerging that you can start to work with.
What about when someone breaks your dream in the day, you and I are having coffee, and you say something, and I say, I had a dream about that last night. I haven't. It's now 12:20, by the way. I must have woken from that dream at 5:30 this morning. I hadn't thought about it. How does that happen when the dream suddenly comes back to life?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, Alex. So we have this idea that dreams only happen at night. But what the dream is the language of what I call our unconscious awareness. So even as you and I are chatting just now and the listeners are listening, then we're rationally aware and consciously aware of a small amount of what's happening, but we're unconsciously aware of a huge amount that's happening around us. And some of it's a bit confusing and irrational, so we absorb that experientially. And then at night when we dream, we start to express that. But we also do this during the day when we're daydreaming or when we're involved in some sort of coincidence. Or there'll be something happening. You might see something in the street and you suddenly think, I was dreaming about that. So there's something in your unconscious awareness that you're telling yourself you should be attending to. And that's why you're dreaming about it. And then that's why you start to notice it during the day.
Right, so if I woke up tomorrow and I had a dream about a Morris Minor and some butter, and I'm making this up as I go along, Ian, please don't feel you have to analyse me, and I say to my wife, I dreamt that I bought a Morris Minor and I smothered it in butter. And then my wife says to me, yeah, but that's because you were watching that programme where they were doing up the Morris Minor, and yesterday you went down to the dairy farm to have a cream tea with your business partner. Sometimes we're storing information within our brains which is just getting kind of muddled and coming out in any old order at night.
Yeah, so when we have that, a lot of people who work with dreams say your dream content is limited to what happened the day before. And this is what Sigmund Freud did. He had this phrase called day residue. So what came out in your dreams was just like the bits and pieces of the day before. But the reason that you pick up on these particular images and metaphors, so why you were drawn to the Morris Minor, the car restoration, or why you were down the dairy buying a particular brand of butter, was it had some unconscious meaning to you. There was something in your waking life that you were trying to connect with something deeper in your unconscious awareness. So although you just think you had that image and it came from watching the TV, you're actually trying to connect with something a bit deeper. So very often people will say, yeah, I dreamt about lions last night because I was watching a David Attenborough documentary about big cats. But there was something that drew you to, you're trying to find some sort of meaning in those lions. So even though you just come up and you said, I'm just making this up here and it's about a Morris Minor and butter, then the Morris Minor, anytime you dream about a car, then there's something about your career to do with your profession, how you drive yourself through life, some sort of ambition.
Right.
And a Morris Minor is a classic vehicle. So whatever you do with your career, Alex, you want it to be involving classic material, and you want to do it in a classic manner, and to do it in a very comfy, and Morris Minors, they're cute, they're lovable, you want to do it in a very lovable, approachable way. Anytime we dream about food, then we're dreaming about how we fulfill ourselves.
So it has nothing to do with being down the dairy and watching the TV programme, even though you've done those and those are planted in your brain.
Yeah, so when you're down the dairy, then there's lots of other stuff. There'll be cheese, there'll be milk, there'll be yogurt. I don't know what's down in your dairy. But you're not dreaming about those. You're dreaming about specific things.
Right.
So from that huge amount of awareness that you absorb during the day, then you pick out specific things and you dream about those.
Okay. Peggy in Southampton has a reoccurring dream that she's in an old dark London train station waiting for a train. Nothing else happens. She just sits and waits.
This is the 24th most common dream that people have.
Oh, come on, I've never had that dream. If it's the 24th, I would have had it.
Yeah, well, Yes, you've not had your dreams, well, you have had your dreams analysed by me, Alex, on air a few times now. But it's, I have to say, my clientele, the demographic, may be slightly skewed. I deal with a lot of professional people in my clientele. And so a lot of them are concerned about their careers. Anytime you dream about a vehicle, you're thinking about your path through life, and it's very often to do with your job or profession. And if you dream about a train, then you're dreaming about a career path that runs on rails. It's got quite a definite route that goes along, and you're trying to embark on that. So when Peggy's in this old dark London station, then she's thinking about something professional, some career, some job she'd really like to do, but she's finding it difficult to embark on that opportunity. And because it's old and dark, what she's telling herself in the dream that she needs to illuminate what she really wants to do. She needs to find something that she gets really fired up about that will really light her up and bring that into today or into the future. So she's telling herself that to do something that she really wants to do a job she wants to do, she actually has to shine a light on what she wants to do and find some way of getting that moving.
All right, thank you very much. We're talking to Ian Wallace. He's author. Friday's going to be warmer with sunny spells, which is nice.
You know, missing out on all the benefits being online can bring.
We'll book holidays online, research homework online, play games online. It's such a massive part of my life, my family's life.
When the clocks go back, we all get an extra hour. Use it to help someone you know get online.
Your life can be easier and far more colourful with the internet.
Help someone you know get online. Give an hour. Visit bbc.co.uk/give an hour.
Yes, we hope you do. Let's get back to Ian Wallace now on the Big Hour. Ian joins us live from Scotland on the line. He's author of The Top 100 Dreams, and he does rather a lot of this kind of stuff for the BBC, and we feel lucky and privileged to have him today. We're really enjoying this, Ian. Let's get back to business. Jennifer in Southampton has a recurring dream. She always gets lost and can't find her way home.
Yeah, again, this is a very common dream that Jennifer's having. So we've been talking about symbols earlier on, Alex. So the classic fundamental dream symbol is the house or the home.
Oh, can I just add to give you a bit more detail? Sorry, Ian. Either someone builds a wall in the way or the tide comes in. I don't know whether that helps you.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's even better. So the tide comes in or building a wall. So the reason that the house or the home is a symbol of the self is because houses have insides and outsides, and so do we. So if Jennifer can't find her way home, then she really, really wants to be herself, but for some reason she feels she has to show up in a different way, because maybe she's trying to keep other people happy, she's trying to please other people, but she finds it quite difficult to be really who she wants to be. And someone building a wall there, having that boundary, means that she feels limited, that she can't fully express herself. And very often when we build a wall, there's a wall in the dream, we've actually built it. So Jennifer needs to look at ways of just breaking down some barriers and looking at how she can really be who she wants to be. If the tide comes in, we said anything to do with water is about emotions and feelings. She feels that if she really is herself, then she might be overwhelmed by a tide of emotions and it might not work out really well. So the message from the dream and the action that Jennifer should take in waking life is just to be herself and just see what happens.
Right, lovely. That sounds like good advice. Thank you very much. Now, some more stuff to ask you. Can we tidy up our brains when we're sleeping, when we're in a different state, as far as our heads are concerned?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Alex. Now, one of the things I do when I'm not doing individual dream interpretation and dream work and analysis is that I work with lots of big companies and do corporate work with them. And they have lots of ideas about how to do things, how to make things happen in the corporate world. And they use a lot of computer metaphors and images, a lot of them that come from cognitive behavioural therapy. So we've got this idea that we can tidy up our brains or defragment our hard drives or clear out our RAM some way, clear out our mental RAM. What we're actually trying to do when we dream, we're not trying to tidy things up. We're trying to do the thing when you're trying to interview John Lennon or go up Everest. We're trying to find a deeper meaning in our lives, who we are, what we need, how we can get it. So we're not really tidying up our brains. We're trying to get rid of stuff that we don't need, and we're trying to make some space for new things to come in that will make us feel really fulfilled.
Right, okay. And do we dream different at different times of the day? If you have a power nap, or do we dream more in a snooze than a deep sleep? Are there better ways to dream?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have about 5 dream episodes per night. So if we sleep 7 hours, then we sleep in 90-minute cycles. And in that 90-minute cycle, we will actually dream for between maybe 15 to 40 minutes in that. So when we have a power nap, then we will have some dreams, but that dream is almost like the start of a conversation. You know, when you meet someone, you don't immediately get into something quite profound and intense. You'll say, how's the weather been? How's your journey here? And so on. So those snoozy, nappy dreams are more about just setting the conditions for a deeper, more profound dream.
Okay. Another one here from Laura. She dreams about an otter in the house. This otter, she's laying down, it crawls over her chest and off the other side. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, again, an animal in a dream, it's about instincts and impulses. And otters are animals that are, the qualities they have, they're quite playful and they're very at home in water or on land. So in Laura's dream, this otter that's coming over her bed and climbing over her chest, then the chest is where the heart is. So she feels emotionally quite playful, but she's also very comfortable in her emotions, whether she's doing something practical or something a bit more emotive.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Some more questions here for you. We've got calls coming in and emails. This one says, "Hi, Alex. I dream the pregnancy and gender of my baby, of the babies of my daughters before they know they're pregnant. I've never been wrong. My girls think I'm a witch," says Anita.
Yeah, so Anita's dream is brilliant, and it's a classic example of what we call a precognitive dream. So there's a lot of confusion around this, Alex, because a lot of people dream about world events and then the next day something happens. So a very common dream is an aircraft crashing. And then if there's a big aircraft
I don't
crash...
like that dream. I don't like that dream.
Yeah, if someone has that dream and then an aircraft does crash, then they say, "Oh, I dreamt about that. I knew that was going to happen." So because we have 35 billion dreams a day on planet Earth, someone's bound to dream that. But what is happening in this pregnancy dream is quite different. This is a real precognitive dream. So the dreamer's actually picking up on really subtle signals from her daughters and just instinctively picking up and knowing that her daughters are pregnant, and she probably gets a pretty good feel for what the gender is, maybe through really subtle cues in her daughter's behaviour. So she's actually using her unconscious awareness to absorb that information and actually predict what's going on with her daughters.
That's fascinating. Sandy from Freshwater says, "I dream that someone's knocking the front door. I've actually got out of bed to answer it and there's been no one there. It's so vivid. Maybe it's kids ringing the doorbell and running off, or maybe it's in the dream."
Yeah, so Sandy's dream's a brilliant dream. Again, this is quite a common dream. So we've said the house represents the self. The front door is how you show yourself to the world. That's how you connect yourself to the world. You go out through the front door and all of a sudden you're no longer just in yourself, you're outside yourself. So if someone's ringing her front door or knocking her front door, then her unconscious awareness is saying to herself, there's something in the outside world that she really needs to go and explore and connect with.
Okay. Can you control a dream?
I think control is quite a rigid, formal word. A lot of people ask about controlling dreams, and there's a technique or an awareness called lucid dreaming. You can't really control a dream, but you can heavily influence a dream, because the dream's the truest expression of yourself. So if you try to really control yourself, there's always bits of you keep bursting out and unexpected parts of yourself. But you can really influence your dream by lucidly dreaming. So a lucid dream is when you become aware that you're dreaming and you don't wake up, you stay in the dream. And it's like with your John Lennon dream, Alex. If you'd been dreaming lucidly there, then you could have asked him a whole lot more questions, maybe gone back to his apartment, had a look around it and so on.
I love that. Yoko could have done us tea. We could have hung out together.
Exactly. So that's lucid dreaming, and there are a number of ways into lucid dreaming. Just as we're waking up, we go through this state called the hypnopompic state, and it's a very good place to learn how to lucid dream, because you're hovering between dreaming and wakefulness. And at the first time you do it, it's really frustrating because you can only do it for a few seconds. But if you keep practicing, then you can have a whole lucid dream, which is an amazing experience to have.
Now, this is where I've got to ask you this, because we're doing dreams, so I've got to include nightmares. When does a dream... This sounds obvious, but I don't mean it sounds... When does a dream become a nightmare?
Yeah, a lot of people make a big differentiation between dreams and nightmares and say they're completely different things, but they're not. They're actually exactly the same phenomenon. So a dream becomes a nightmare when you feel threatened in some way and that you're losing control of the situation. And what our unconscious awareness does, it expresses itself through our dreams, and it's often got some really good information for us. And when we don't pay attention to that information in waking life, what our unconscious awareness does is just starts turning up the volume and makes the dreams vivid more vivid, scarier and scarier, until we actually start to get our own attention and do something about them. So all the nightmare is it's like our shouting at itself. It's like you shouting at yourself going, Alex, 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 pay attention, because this is something quite important for you.
What about people who've suffered a tragedy in their life? Maybe they've lost someone they love in a car crash, or maybe it's someone who's been attacked, and they keep dreaming about the attacker, or they keep dreaming about the car crash, going through it again and again and again. How on earth do they break that cycle and get rid of that dream?
So there's a really positive thing that I do with a lot of clients in this, because a lot of people who come to me have really disturbed sleep, or they suffer from nightmares. I do a lot of work with the armed services, people suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and they've been through some horrific things. And the general feeling in the dream is that they're powerless. They can't do anything about preventing this thing happening again and again. But the key thing that comes out in the dream through lucid dreaming and influencing the dream is you can actually start to take charge of what's happening in the dream and start to feel a bit more empowered again. And as soon as they start to feel more empowered, then they can never really get rid of that horrific experience, but they can learn how to accept it and actually absorb it into their life.
Okay, that's good advice. Jason Palmer in Southampton says, Alex, I've had a horrible dream. One night I dreamt I was going around shooting people in the face with a pistol. When I woke up, I had to sit still for 5 minutes, wondering if the whole thing was real, and if I was in a real heap of trouble. It was very disturbing.
Yes, so Jason's dream, the shooting dream, is the 44th most common dream that people have. And it's usually to do with shooting a gun or stabbing someone. So when we dream about a pistol, a gun, a knife, then we're thinking about how we exert our power in waking life. And usually if it's a gun, then it's something we're doing at a distance. So what Jason's doing in the dream is that he may feel that someone's exerting power over him unfairly in waking life, or he's exerting power unfairly over someone else, and he's feeling really guilty about that. And it's probably started off as quite a gentle dream, but then because it's built up and built up, he's not been aware that he's actually doing this in waking life, then it starts to come out as this quite vivid, scary dream.
All right, next one. Margaret in Weymouth says she often dreams she's lost her purse or it's been stolen. What does it mean? It's driving her crackers.
Yeah, again, this is quite a common dream, losing a purse or a wallet. So we think what a wallet or a purse symbolises, and it's usually our value, our self-worth. So it's a very common dream with people who have recently retired, or perhaps unfortunately had a bereavement, or split up in a long-term relationship. And what she's trying to rediscover is her own self-worth. And usually in a purse or a wallet, as well as money and credit cards, we have some form of identification as well. So she's really trying to come to terms with who she really wants to be, who she really is, just to rediscover her own identity and her own self-worth.
Okay, Jean from Bournemouth. Hi, Alex. Hi, Ian. My dream is of my late parents and I in our old home in different situations each time. That sounds like it could be quite a comforting dream. I don't know. Jean hasn't said whether she finds it disturbing or comforting. I guess it's a bit of a comfort for her.
Yeah, so in Jean's dream, very often people dream about loved ones who have passed on, particularly parents or grandparents. And the thing we have to remember is we're creating the dream, so all the people in the dream, all the characters we encounter, we're creating them, and there's usually reflections of parts of our own character. So when Jean's dreaming about her late parents, she's actually dreaming about the qualities that her parents embodied. So it may have been that her dad was really wise and kind and her mum was really funny and caring. So Jean's becoming more aware of those qualities in her own self now and how she embodies them herself in waking life. And it just really makes her feel really comfortable because she's back in her old home and in that old self and identity again.
All right, I've tidied this one up a little bit. This is Linda from Fair Oak. Two subjects here. One is that she's always looking for a washroom, if you know what I mean. When she gets to the washroom, it's not a proper washroom.
Right. So this is a really, really common dream here.
Thought it would be.
It's the third most common dream. Unable to find a toilet.
What do you call this one? Needing a wee, I guess.
Needing a wee. I call it unable to find a toilet.
Okay, that'll do.
But people have various terms for that. But very often people will come up to me at events and in studios and say, I have this dream, no one else has it, it's such a weird dream. And then they say, I can't find the toilet. So, again, just going back to the language, Alex, we have this phrase, needing the toilet. And this dream that Linda's having is all about answering her own needs. So when you go to the toilet, you're trying to get rid of stuff, you're trying to answer a need. And if you can't do that, it means usually in waking life that she's spending all her time looking after the needs of other people rather than looking after her own needs. So the message from the dream is she just needs to look after her own needs a wee bit more and sometimes let other people get on with what they need to do.
All right, and the other part of Linda's dream is, and maybe it's connected, and I think this must be very common, she dreams that she's often out in public naked.
Yes, this is a really, really common dream again. So it's the fourth most common dream. So she's got number 3 and number 4, doing really well there.
She's nearly number 1 this week.
So when we dream about being naked, we have to think what clothes mean, just from metaphorically. And clothes are how we present ourselves to the world, but also how we cover up our vulnerabilities, our nakedness. So if she's dreaming she's out naked, she sometimes feels a bit vulnerable. And that's probably why she spends so much time nurturing and looking after other people's needs. And the thing in the dream, usually in the naked dream, that you're naked and you're really concerned about it, but other people aren't bothered. So she just has to be aware that in waking life that other people are full of confidence in her and they can't see any of those vulnerabilities. So she just has to be really confident and look after herself for a bit.
Ian, this is great. We're all going to sleep a lot better tonight, thanks to you. But we're coming back. We've got a few to plough through, so we better be quick. Sally on the Isle of Wight. I have horrible reoccurring dreams, Ian, about horrible things happening to teeth falling out and breaking and snapping.
Yeah, Sally's dream is the second most common dream that people have, is teeth falling out.
Really?
Yeah, and there are so many old wives' tales about this, saying if your teeth fall out, then next Tuesday you'll be short-changed at the corner shop, or you need to go and see the dentist. But again, just coming back to the language, then we think what we do with our teeth, and we tend to show our teeth on 2 occasions. One is when we smile, when we're happy and confident. Another one is when we're kind of snarling, when we're asserting ourselves and being confident. So our teeth tend to represent confidence and power. And if we dream that our teeth are falling out or crumbling, then we feel that in waking life something is making our confidence drop a bit or crumble. And if our molars are falling out, if those are crumbling, then there's something we need to chew over but then act on. If our incisors are falling out, then we need to be more incisive and decisive about something in waking life. So our teeth are all about that confidence. And if you dream your teeth are falling out, all you have to do in waking life is just to appear more confident, even though you feel a wee bit wobbly inside.
All right. Now, I heard once, if you see yourself in a dream, it means you're dead. But how can it? Because who's...
Yeah, there's all sorts of tales about that.
But it's mind you, all you got to do, I guess, is hear from someone who says, I saw myself in a dream last night. But apparently we never see ourselves in a mirror reflection or anything. We're never looking at ourselves.
That's nonsense. People see themselves in mirrors. They see themselves reflected in various things, looking into pools of water. They see their hands and their legs and various parts of their body in front of them. So again, it's just one of these things that you never dream when you're snoring. That's another nonsensical fact.
I had that written down too. You never dream when you're snoring.
Yeah, but that's very often people will wake up when they're snoring and they'll say, I was in the middle of a dream there. I shouldn't have snored myself awake.
Oh, I see. I've got to ask you, what did you dream about last night?
Yeah, I dream about all sorts of things, Alex.
I bet you do.
Yeah, and I do that thing of just trying to get into the dream. So last night I was dreaming that I was in this... it was like a big moorland that I was walking across with some quite well-known figures. And we were trying to get to the base of this mountain. And there was a big fence on the way there, and everyone else was trying to get through the fence, but I could see this gap in the fence, this quite ornate arch just about 100 yards away. So I was guiding people through this archway to get through to the other side, to the base of the mountain.
And is that in your top 100 book of dreams, or do you just dream exclusively?
No, it's in, I think that's number 12, is climbing a mountain. But it's just the thing that I was loving about it, and the more that you work with your dreams, then the more alive and amazing you make them, is that I was helping people up towards this gap, but I was looking down at the ground and there's all these grasses and heathers and lichens and bryophytes and just beautifully detailed. And I was just sitting thinking to myself, going, yeah, good dreamy, and this stuff looks amazing.
And of course, the Scottish dream, which is always nice for you, Ian. Right,
Yes.
I've got a few here I've got to do really quickly. Do you believe the spirit world can contact you through dreams, says John in a text?
Yeah, so John's question is really interesting. So again, a lot of people think that the dreams are some sort of spiritual message contacting you, but again, we turn that around and think we're always trying to connect with something beyond ourselves, whether it's through art, through story, through psychology, through conversation. So dreams are amazingly spiritual, because what the spirit actually is connecting with something beyond your mere physicality. So they are a very spiritual thing, and they're not so much the spirit world trying to transmit things in, it's about how we actually connect with the spirit world beyond us.
Okay. Karen in Paul very quickly says, I have a dream that I'm laying down and I'm paddling along, laying face down on a skateboard, and I can do this to get out of a situation. Is this strange?
No, that's a lovely dream that Karen's having, and again, it's a very playful thing to do. So she's maybe playing around and mucking around in waking life, but because she's lying down on the skateboard, she's trying to keep a low profile while she's doing it.
And Tina in Gosport says, as a child I had chicken pox. It was so bad I hallucinated and I saw the face of the devil. Later on in life I saw a drawing of the face I saw and it really scared me.
Wow, that's fantastic. So this is a classic fever dream. So when we have fever dreams, then we often have things that are quite hallucinatory, or that hypnopompic state again that we're talking about. So she finds something coming up, and because in chickenpox and that fever she'd have been really hot, and maybe she'd been reading about the devil or that whole thing about hell being really burning, then she just saw something that represented that really burning part of herself, that burning fever inside her.
And finally, he would never forgive me if I forgot, breakfast presenter here at BBC Radio Solent, Julian Clegg, often dreams that he's flying. Now, he's a super guy, but he thinks he can fly without a plane in his dream. But Julian Clegg is kind of like the Peter Pan of BBC Radio Solent.
Yeah, this is a lovely, lovely dream to have, and it's usually the subject of most lucid dreams. It's the 6th most common dream that people have. So again, going back to the language, we have phrases like being weighed down by responsibility or the gravity of the situation. So people have this dream when they release themselves from heavy responsibilities and just do what they want to do. So Julian's probably quite a creative guy. He probably really enjoys life. Yeah, and that's what he's doing. Creative people have this dream a lot.
I'll tell him you said he's a bit of a lovey. Ian, thank you very much. We'll see you in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. What's the website?
The website is ianwallacedreams.com, and there's about 400 pages on there of information all about dreams, and it's just absolutely packed with information, so you can find out what your dreams mean and just explore dreams in general.
Lovely. And the book's called The Top 100 Dreams. Thank you very much, Ian. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Alex. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks.
And for us too.